Hi, it can be really hard to know how to date safe, even as we get into adulthood. Some of us are maybe dating again after years of not dating. Maybe you have an adult child that you're trying to coach through, or friends that you see that you feel are doing kind of scary stuff when it comes to dating, but you don't really know what tips to give them. Today, we're going to talk about a couple of tips that's going to help us learn how to date safely, or at least more safe. So make sure you share this with anyone who you know is single or anyone who you know is dating. Or for yourself, take some of these tips into account. But at the end of the day, everybody has to do what feels right to them. I hope a large part of your decision-making process in dating is based off what makes you feel safe, because safety is key. Okay, so the first one, and this applies to someone who you don't know. So people who are dating online, don't know those people, or if you have like a chance encounter at like a grocery store or something like that, and you're about to go on a date with someone that you just met, right? So the trick is, remember they're a stranger. It can be really hard because your brain and your heart want to fall. So you're kind of fighting that the entire time that you're trying to get to know someone to decide if you want something more or not. So the first key is, remember it's a stranger. So before you meet up, you want to try to have a bit more of a conversation with them. If you're comfortable, whatever app you're using, if there's like an option to FaceTime through the app, or if you feel comfortable just FaceTiming them, if you have some way to see their face and listen to them talk, that can be a more of an indicator, give you more of a chance for your gut to kind of prick your ear to pay attention to see if you even want to meet up. So it's good to have these interactions prior to agreeing to go and meet this person, because you want to give as much time and space as you can to see if there is a reason that you might not want to meet, and then you can avoid a sticky situation altogether. So that's a key, is try to pay attention to how you feel while you're texting, while you're FaceTiming. If they say something that feels a bit off, or something that makes you uncomfortable, or causes you to like gasp or take a step back, you may want to put off meeting until you can talk to them again, or you may just decide not to meet altogether. So that's always an option. So really, we want to try and do what we can to talk to this person prior to meeting up with them, instead of just a few quick exchanges and then we go actually meet them, right? Because you might not want to meet them after you talk to them a little bit more. The next one is, remember it's a stranger. So you don't want them to come and pick you up at your home. Why? Because it's a stranger. You don't know them. You don't know if this is a safe person, regardless of age or gender. It doesn't matter. We don't know this person, so we're not going to give them our address. We're not going to have them pick us up, and we're not going to go and pick them up. Remember, if you allow someone into your car, or if you go into someone's car, if you go into someone's home, you allow someone into your home, you're being very vulnerable, and you don't want to be that vulnerable. Maybe it's not maybe, but it is not wise to be that vulnerable with someone that you don't know. So the rule is, or the tip is, make sure you meet in a public setting and you leave by yourself, or at least if you go with someone who is a safe person, maybe have a chaperone or something, then you would of course leave with that person. But if it's just you want to go alone, and even though you may have talked to them a couple times, even though you met them in a public setting, that's not long enough for you to say you know them. So that still would not be wise to then invite them to your home, or go to their home, or go to a space that is more solitude, or a place that's more private. So in the beginning especially, we want to have our own means of transportation to and from the meeting, and we want to make sure that the meeting is in public, right? Or with a group, either way. So just make sure that you're not being vulnerable, going to their house, or letting them come to your house. The next one, it's hard to know what to share on a first date. I don't know if you've ever had the experience where you had a first date and you were just like, well, letting all of your business come out of your mouth, telling them all your business, right? Rather than doing that, one thing, a tip to kind of keep your sharing safe, is to share off your interest, or share based off your interest. So what are you interested in? What is it that you value, right? So you don't want to talk about your trauma. You don't want to talk about your childhood. You don't want to talk about great big future plans. It's safest to just share interest and maybe a bit of what it is you value. That's okay, because we want to know what they value and let them know what we value, because we want to be able to see, is this even worth pursuing, or are we just two very different, and you're super interested in your passion and stuff that I'm not. In fact, I don't want anything to do with it, and vice versa, same thing. So maybe we part as friends. So it's okay to talk about values or similar interests, but no trauma, nothing top secret, nothing personal, and no big future plans, because we don't know if this person's even going to be included in them. Remember, your heart's thinking they're going to be, your heart could even be certain that they're going to be included, but we have to keep reminding our brains, this is a stranger, I don't even know them, right? So that's a constant thing that needs to be playing through our head, and that's what helps us keep it safe. So yes, it's okay to share, but you want to share based off similar interests or share based off of your values, but nothing personal, right? Whether it's past or whether it's our future, until we get to know them better. Okay, here's another one. This is when it might be time to run. I keep sliding off this pillow. I need to get a different pillow. Okay, it might be time to run if you see them be rude to anyone, and that includes you. If you're like, excuse me, right? If they say something that's kind of off-putting or that hurts your feelings, or that's just outright rude to you or anyone else. If you go to a restaurant and they're rude to a waiter or waitress or the staff, or they're demanding or they're demeaning, any of those types of behaviors might be time to run. Always you have to make that decision, but if someone can't sort of behave on their very first date with you, which is when most of us are trying to give our best first impression, if that's their best first impression, that might be time to run. Another one, if they don't ask you any questions. So if they're just talking about themselves, sometimes anxiety can make us talk about ourselves, and that's embarrassing. And afterward, we're like, oh, why'd I do that, right? But if this person you notice kind of has a pattern of only talking about themselves and they never ask you questions, they never give you a chance to reciprocate, they're not really showing that they're interested in your life, they just want you to learn about their life, might be time to run. Another one would be if they don't answer your question. So if you ask a question that's not super intrusive or super personal, just like a generalized question, right? What do you do for a living? What's something that you enjoy doing? And they just never seem to answer your question, might be time to run. Also, if you ever at any moment don't feel safe. So at any point during the date, if you don't feel like you could just say, hey, it's been a really nice time, this is not something I'm interested in. If you don't feel like you can say that, that's a problem. If you don't feel safe to just say what you want, what you need, or to disagree, or you just don't like the way they're looking at you, it's starting to really creep you out, make you uncomfortable. These would be reasons to not have a second date, right? It would be a reason to have an excuse and to leave, and then to send them a message and say, really nice meeting you. Something I'm not interested in. Also, might be time to leave or to run from this person if they're really heavy on the compliments. So if you notice during the conversation that you're like, you're telling me all these nice things about myself, but how do you even know that, right? How could you even possibly know this about me or that this is true? It might be true by coincidence, but how could they know that if they're just meeting you for the first time? That might be a time to run. Also, if they try to be touchy-feely, especially on the first date. So if someone is trying to take liberties that they should not be taking on their very first time with you, then might be time to run. If they get impatient or irritated, and that includes with anyone, might be time to run. And also if they get drunk, again, remember, this is their first impression, their first time meeting you. And if they can't hold their liquor and they get drunk, this may be an indicator of a pattern. You might want to run. Doesn't mean you can't have conversations and then allow more time to see, but the more time we spend with someone, the more our brain can bond to them and the harder it can be to detach. So this is why if we start seeing these signs early on, we need to pay attention and address them or just flat out move on. Next one, we don't want to commit to anything for 90 days. So if somebody is like, will you be mine? And it's your second week of talking to them, right? That's an indicator, way too fast, not healthy. I need to give it at least 90 days. In interviewing victims of domestic violence, I have yet to find someone who did not experience violence within the first 90 days. Within the first 90 days, but by that time they were already committed, which meant they were already hooked. So pay attention to that. Also, because physical intimacy can blind you, right? And it bonds you. Also, if you decide it's time to walk away and you're not interested in talking with this person again, here are a few things you can say. It's important that we're not rude. I mean, there may be a moment where you have to feel like you're getting a bit rude, and that can absolutely be acceptable or necessary. But to just initially upfront to end things and not move forward and let that other person know, you have to be courageous and you would want to be polite. So polite is not being nice. Nice can get your boundaries pushed and get you hurt, but being polite just means you're showing respect, but you can still say no and be polite. So one thing you could say is, it was really nice meeting you. I appreciate the date, but it's just not a good fit for me, right? Or thank you for asking me out again. I really enjoyed our time. However, it wasn't a good fit for me. So you would want to say whatever it is that you are comfortable saying. Instead of feeling like you have to say something or you have to explain yourself, you certainly don't. And a lot of times, especially if you're someone who is a perpetrator of violence or someone who is just not able to take no for an answer, they're going to try and find like the little cracks or loopholes in what it is you've said, and then they're going to use your words against you, and then you're going to get caught up in some type of weird debate, and then you might find yourself on another date. So rather than going through all that, you want to keep it short, simple, really nice. Thank you so much. It's just not a good fit for me. I'm not interested. Okay. If you have any other questions or comments, concern, you can always go to relationaltrauma101.podia.com. I hope this helps you with some tips on how to date safe, especially to share with anyone who is just brand new to dating. These are really painful lessons that you don't have to learn through the School of Hard Knocks. You could just watch a video like this, take a couple tips down, and hopefully that helps you be a bit more safe as you date. So take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.